Hi everyone, it's Jackie from Rose Gold Library, and this is my annotation video. I'm somewhat becoming a book talk girly, and seeing on my entire For You page, just seeing how everyone annotates and, does the underlines, the highlights, everything's really cute. But this is also a way to see that you don't really need a lot of money or fancy equipment or anything to annotate. So this is the method that I like to use, which is just writing everything on a separate sheet of paper and using post-it notes. And when I finish using the post-it notes, I just put them alongside with my own readings or my own handwritten notes. So what you'll need is post-it notes, and doesn't matter what kind, I'm using these, and also a separate sheet of paper to write down. I like to spice things up with pens, different color pens, and also highlighters, since these are kind of like the small things that bring me joy. So first off, what I like to do is have a book. That's the first thing that you do, mainly because I've been trying to annotate my fanfics, and I realize if I do that, I'll be the entire day just doing the thumbs up emoji, because I like that. I like it, Picasso type of everything. But if you're already a minute into the video and you're like, what's annotation? Annotations are basically comments, thoughts, reactions to parts of a text. You mainly would do it for research purposes. Some professors or teachers are like, annotate the story or annotate this paragraph, and you're like, what do I do? So here's my way. I'll be showing you how I'll annotate the introduction, since a lot of people tend to skip introductions, and a little bit of how I set that up, and the rest is gonna be for me. I'll show you a little bit how I would annotate each chapter. So the book that I'm doing, you'll probably see it on screen, but it's the classic stories from Edgar Allan Poe. So first off, I like to read quickly. So annotating sometimes forces me to read things back and just see what are the main points, or what are some key details. For example, since I kind of read this already slightly, I skimmed through it. I'll say me, in this case, I picked out some things that I already know of. For example, Edgar Allan Poe, the A stands for Allan, and that's not his original name. And just how his full name comes through different parts of his life. So one way to annotate is just put on a sticky note. What do you already know? And why do you think this is important? One good thing is always seeing underline things in text, or also if it's in a different language, that's very interesting. If it's in Latin, you're gonna be like, why is this in Latin? And just looking up what made this man the man, and finding out that there is spookiness. Yeah, that was not planned. My door just closed randomly while talking about Edgar Allan Poe, so that's great. What I like to do is do a quick read. I'm a very quick reader, so this is slightly better if you know how to read quickly. But if you want to take it slow, I would recommend reading this entire paragraph and then having at least 2 sentences, or at the very least 1 sentence that describes everything. You'll think that's very hard. Yes, it is. Doesn't matter how much you write, as long as it makes sense to you and the tropes that you want to look at. Specifically if you're reading books such as horror. Or here's a fun fact that you did not know. That's what I'm writing right here, the horror trope of an old friend coming back to X, Y, and Z town, and they find mysterious psychological or supernatural events. And you want to know how to relate that? Bendy and the Ink Machine. Isn't that like literally the plot of the first game? Main character, best friend or coworker tells him to come back. There's something like weird going on, and that's how the horror trope starts. And just how little things like that, like, oh, this is actually seen in X, Y, and Z show. And that's how you can connect it to. And for me, I like to use like small and various sizes of post-it notes. I got the mini set from Daiso, but these big ones, I got these as gifts. So having small little different variations and also keeping tags and bookmarks of your annotations is a very big help. So what I would recommend doing is write your reactions. Sometimes you can write it in the margins or underline, like, this is my favorite quote of all time, or makes me laugh. I've also, if you're always wondering, like, how do I do that, like, right in the margins, how do I do this? I would recommend going to your local library, and if they have a book sale, because sometimes they have to get rid of books, or they use used books, mainly a lot of used books, where they donate. I would recommend just opening them, and if they have any writing, just see what they wrote. Sometimes they'll just reference, like, oh, this is page 47, and you're like, what is page 47? You look over, and it's underlined, and turns out it was a clue to the mystery. Or, I once read, in a different Edgar Allan book, in The Raven, you'll find very funny little things. It doesn't have to be serious. When it was like, the Raven said nevermore, someone just underlined, and they just put like the sound of a crow makes. So that was a little funny to see. And for me, I like to actually annotate the introduction. Sometimes people will just skip the introductions and wouldn't count that as part of the book. I like to think that the introduction counts, and it's also a very good background to see, like, where this author's from or authors from and what time place it takes in. And also sometimes to see, for example, Edgar Allan Poe had a lot of troubling things happen in his life, so that's why a lot of their work is focused on the macabre and the scary and just the ups and downs. So for example, the first story that you see, I couldn't even pronounce it, so I made a note of it, possibly German, and then right under it's a Latin quote from Martin Luther. That's how I can somewhat figure out if it was like German because of that. Seeing all these quotes and also having these little footnotes, I recommend everyone to read the footnotes, because sometimes, one, authors can bring out personality in the footnotes, and two, you get to understand, like, why did this person did that. And sometimes I would suggest writing the date, or at least the time or date, or at least in August or something, to describe why you wrote that or when you wrote that. And you'll see sometimes after you read like a good 4 or 5 chapters into a book, and then you look back at your annotations and you're like, why did I write that? And then you see how different your first look versus your second look, and then you're coming back and you see these are how your thought process came about. So that's pretty much how I like to do annotations. It seems slightly unorganized, but annotations don't have to be too organized as long as you know you can understand. But if you're doing it for an assignment, I would suggest looking at main topics and seeing how you can condense them into a couple of sentences. Sometimes if you do a summary of it all, that's one way to annotate, versus this is how I feel, here's how it relates to the story, and how do I connect. Well, let me know if you understand or if you would like to see more. And thank you so much for watching. Have a happy Halloween very soon. It's time for spooky. That's why I'm reading Edgar Allan. And hope to see you very, very soon once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. Goodbye!